Now I'm standing on a working pier in Piraeus, Greece, and if you want to understand why American geopolitical machine is fracturing, you just need to look at the contrast right here behind me. And right here tied to the dock, you have the local working boats. These are the people actually trying to make a living on the water. And looming over their shoulders is the massive container cranes of the global supply chain. They're largely backed by Chinese state-backed currency. This is what the actual infrastructure of global trade looks like. And for the past 72 hours, the American political outrage channels have been hyperventilating over Admiral McRaven's recent warning. And they think it's all about domestic politics and fire generals. They're completely missing the plot. Now, standing out here, actually looking at the arteries of global logistics, let me tell you what the Admiral was actually warning the administration about. Because it wasn't about politics, it was about the cold, brutal math of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I want you to look at the post from this administration. They launched Project Freedom, and they're calling it a humanitarian gesture. They talked about positive discussions to escort innocent ships out of the Middle East. And this is what happens when leaders suffering from institutional blindness confuse public relations with geopolitics. You can't spin a geographical choke point. Now, I spent years in the Marine Corps, and let me make a very clear tactical distinction for the people in Washington. You don't send an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer to a narrow, contested waterway. It's not a crossing guard. It's a high-value target. The administration thought they were issuing a press release, but the moment that hull hit the water, the geopolitical Leviathan woke up. Within hours, they were saying that we were destroying 6 Iranian small boats and shooting down drones. Now, that isn't an escort mission or a gesture. That's day one of the surface war, and Washington just walked right into the trap. Now, the outrage channels, like I said, they're stuck on the politics. Now, let's go back to the desk and pull up the maps and actually look at the forensic math of why the U.S. Navy is essentially financially bleeding out just to move 2 civilian ships.
So the Pentagon's parading this headline right now: progress in reopening Hormuz. 2 merchant ships have already transited. We got to put the logistics manager hat on and do the math here, because moving 2 ships through a strait that handles a massive percentage of the world's daily energy is not progress. It is a statistical rounding error, and it's a failure that's being marketed as a victory. Here's the forensic math on why the empire is fundamentally overextended. We're bleeding multi-million-dollar SM-2 interceptor missiles to swat down cheap drones, some costing $2,000. We are burning millions in advanced munitions just to move pennies on the global trade. The thing is, this is an unsustainable rate of attrition, and Washington keeps promising best efforts to protect these crews, but commercial shipping conglomerates and London insurance syndicates, they don't operate on political promises. If the water is a free fire zone, the insurance premiums skyrocket and making cargo financially impossible to move. The real world of global logistics, if a route requires $1 billion destroyer just to survive the transit, the route is already closed. And this is exactly what Admiral McRaven warned the administration about just 3 days ago. You can't bomb your way to secure a supply chain. You can't put boots on the ground to secure a coastline so massive. Iran is twice the size of Texas. And while Washington is distracted by playing battleship, in the strait, the adversary executed masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Now look at the Al-Monitor map here. Now, IRGC officially claimed the strait, but the actual kill shot here happened in the UAE. The drone strike on the Fujairah oil zone. Why does it matter? Because Fujairah is the terminus for the only major overland pipeline designed to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. It handles 1.5 million barrels a day. So Washington thought that they were clearing a traffic jam. That's all it was. But the adversary responded by setting fire to the only detour. They didn't just lock the front door to the global economy. They burned down the fire escape. No shipping CEO is going to send a fleet into this meat grinder when the bypass infrastructure is literally up in flames. The thing is, Washington is demanding that the world trust the US Navy to secure this choke point. But look at how the world is actually reacting. At the exact moment the administration needs a unified Western coalition, they're threatening trade tariffs on Germany. They're alienating the very allies that they need the most. But the thing is, we don't have any allies anymore. We only have trade opponents. And Europe's doing the math, right? The French president isn't issuing statements of solidarity. He's delivering historic speeches distancing the EU from Washington. With Russian energy heavily sanctioned, the Strait of Hormuz is Europe's lifeline. When Brussels looks at the Middle East right now, they don't see an American protector. They see Fujairah bypass burning. They see the US Navy financially bleeding out over 2 merchant ships. They see a massive, unpredictable liability, and this is why America has become an island nation. This is why Canada and the EU are finalizing their trade divorce from the United States. They aren't waiting for Washington to fix this, because this is exactly what Washington wants to happen. They are actively building a post-American security architecture to survive it. The thing is, this isn't just a military failure. We're watching the real-time unraveling of an empire suffering from terminal institutional blindness. The people that are steering this ship in Washington are living in a digital fantasy. They genuinely believed that they could solve a massive kinetic geographical trap with Truth Social post, a PR spin, all because they thought Project Freedom would be a good photo op. But the ocean doesn't care about public relations strategy. Geography doesn't care about your political narrative. When the leaders of a unipolar power care more about controlling the daily news cycle than they do about the logistical reality of the world's most critical energy bypass burning to the ground, the system has already failed. It's fundamentally broken, and the illusion of dominance has been shattered. The rest of the world is already adjusting to this new reality. I'm here in Europe right now, and I can tell you, Europeans don't care about America anymore. They don't. They don't have any faith in it, nor should they at this point. Because the consequences of what happened now have just all been laid on the shoulders of the manufacturing industry, the food prices, utility bills, in other words, on the working class in general. And when their former ally, the superpower, is in the Middle East completely destroying their way of life and keeping it that way just for political convenience and expediency, the fact is they don't want anything to do with us anymore. That's why you have leaders from all over the free world who are coming together right now to build a post-American world. The amount of failure that's coming out of this administration right now is piling up day after day and becoming more and more embarrassing for Americans to really bear. We need to focus on actually putting our efforts towards midterms. If that's the only way that we have out of this at this point, then yes, that is what we have to do. We have to get out there and prepare to get as many people into the voting booths as possible. America isn't beyond saving. This nation isn't beyond saving. This madness isn't beyond stopping it. We need to understand that Americans still have a voice, that sane-minded, reasonable people still have a place in the United States and in our leadership. They're out there. They may not be corporate Democrats, but we need to understand at this point, in the binary system that America has, it is truly black and white. It is the lesser of two evils. And at some point, we're going to be able to address the systemic issues that we have. And I think that those days are coming. Honestly, America's growing to be something. The American people are waking up in a way that it's going to have an effect on the future. The consequences that the world is seeing right now, the consequences that Americans are seeing right now, not just in their lives, but around the world, as America continues to be a bully, distance ourselves from our allies, pit nations against each other, and just ruin the global economy. I really do feel like this is the end of an old America, and we're going to see come out of the ashes is a new America that's actually worth being proud of, because I want to be proud of my nation. I want my son to actually be proud of being an American. This dark chapter that we're going through right now is going to end. We have to rally to a cause, and that cause is just defeating those that are in office right now. So we can't sit there and let them say that, hey, if you think that the war is going bad, well, that's treasonous. If you don't like what we're doing, well, that's treasonous. Well, if you're the opposition, that's treasonous. You can't let them own these words and restructure our system to benefit them, to deprive the rest of the people of their say. Listen, 32% approval rating right now. That means the vast majority of Americans right now understand this madness and see it for what it is. And we want control of our nation back. Midterms are coming up, and every vote matters. Know who your representatives are, know the up and comers, understand what their values are, and seek people who represent you, because that's all we can do at this point. Food for thought as always. Take care.